The 2021 SmackDown Elimination Chamber match saw Daniel Bryan enter first and outlast five other men, including Jey Uso, to earn a title shot against Roman Reigns. The only issue? Roman came to the ring immediately after the chamber ended to defend his championship. After a reversal into a yes lock to start, Roman was able to take advantage of a war-torn Bryan and win in just 93 seconds. Immediately after, Edge speared Roman, pointed to the sign, and our WrestleMania 37 main event was set. What will the fallout be of Daniel Bryan's loss and Edge's decision? It's time to rewind the bloodline. Before we get started, don't forget to acknowledge us. If you are new to what we're doing here, we are rewinding the Bloodline story and we are inching closer to WrestleMania 37. So go back and check out the rest of the uploads and the channel to support us. It's the best way to do it. And now we had a very newsworthy Elimination Chamber show. Daniel Bryan wins the battle, but loses the war as Roman squashed him immediately. And Edge has finally made the main event for WrestleMania official. But before we get into all that, we did this a few weeks back and we're bringing it back again. So don't be afraid. We do have timestamps if you want to skip ahead. But trust me, Teddy pulled out some amazing nuggets here. So take us away to Dirt Sheet Beach Goose.
We are at the February 22nd, 2021 Wrestling Observer newsletter. This one was actually published before the Chamber, and Dave said in this issue that the Universal title was initially planned as being put up in the Chamber, just the same way that Drew did, right. But now the plans changed, and it's scheduled to be defended after the Chamber match itself. He says, and I quote, "One would seem to favor Cesaro in this situation, or possibly Owens or Bryan. They've been trying to favor Cesaro," end quote. And then he mentioned Cesaro's gauntlet push that was given to Shinsuke. We talked about that last week. Check it out. He then says, quote, "There has been talk of Reigns versus Bryan since Reigns' return, but with Bryan losing so often, it wouldn't make sense to just do the match without a build just to get it done," end quote.
I mean, we've literally talked about that last week. Like, they're just killing him dead at every turn. That's literally what they did anyways. So we just teased it, and you told me that we had some big signings that came through late in February 2021. Who did they bring in here?
So I was really excited about this one. The WWE went on a signing spree, bringing in about 25 new wrestlers, including Eli Drake and the former Harlem Bravado, which we will now know as Andre Chase. I wish I had the shirt on right now.
Yeah.
The next week, it was reported that this list included some guy named Bronson Rechsteiner. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Nope, never heard of that guy.
Teresa Serrano, who ends up being Zoe Stark. Priscilla Kelly, who is Gigi Dolan. Drew Casper, who's Brutus Creed. Dave mentions that he's an all-star amateur wrestler, and his brother was signed back in October. Joe Ariola, who is Tony D'Angelo, Brianna Coda, who is Cora Jade, and a fella, he's a football player from South Carolina University. His name is Matrick Belton. If you have heard of him, goes by Trick Williams, among others. So, dude, this is something.
That is incredible that they basically signed the entire NXT roster in one fell swoop.
And you have multiple main eventers coming out from that.
Seriously, you have one guy that hung around for a little bit in Eli Drake, and then he eventually made the jump and he had a weird gimmick, but eventually he is now LA Knight. Yeah. And I mean, like literally everybody you mentioned, Zoe Stark's on the main roster. Brutus Creed's on the main roster now. Like there's a ton. Basically, it's the entire NXT roster here.
Tony D will be. Cora Jade will be as long as she stays healthy. Trick's overdue to come up. He's an NXT champion. And Gigi Dolan was featured in that Toxic Attraction group forever. She's now featured in the group with Kiana and Jacy Jane, I believe. So, I mean, they are really, they nailed this one.
Yeah, that's really crazy that we're literally weeks ahead of WrestleMania 37 in this, like the Bloodline story is really starting to heat up. And then all of a sudden we're signing the NXT roster that we're going to see here eventually.
We are in the timeline that heats it up. And now we're living in the current future, which is pretty
Yeah.
cool. So we now move on to the March 1st, 2021 Wrestling Observer newsletter. And this was the 2020 Observer Reader Awards issue. And look, man, I know that people will dump on the Observer and the Observer readers, but the thing that I like about the Observer Awards is that it is reader voted on. It's not the PWI where there's just sort of arbitrary list that's constructed. These are people that are subscribers to the issue that vote, and it's interesting to see their voice, or to hear their voice rather. Former Shield member Jon Moxley ran away with the Wrestler of the Year. It was not even close. Our top 5, and you want to talk about a time capsule here. Moxley 1, Kenny Omega 2, Naito's 3, Kota Ibushi is 4, and Drew McIntyre is 5. Roman Reigns came in 8th place in the issue voter awards there for his Wrestler of the Year.
And Roman also finished 7th best on interviews, 5th for US and Canada MVP, 5th for best box office draw, which that one felt really weird because I feel like he is the draw for WWE right now.
Weird year, though. He wasn't one when they were drawing crowds. You remember 2020, no more crowds in March.
That's true. I keep
by the time he came back as not the big dog.
Yeah.
There were no, you know what I'm saying? So that's what's weird about that.
He also, in his feud with Jey Uso, was voted 8th best for feud of the year. And finally, Roman was 7th in most improved and 3rd in best gimmick.
And remember, that gimmick started in August. So it's only August, September, October, November, December. I mean, it's not even half a year that he's running that. Would have been interesting to see what would have happened had that have come back a little bit earlier.
It'll be really interesting when we get to WrestleMania 38 and we start to see these Observer Awards for 2021. I'm really excited to see that because I feel like we're going to see him elevate way up in the rankings here.
Well, and year by year, it went from every Observer reader dumps on the WWE to you can't deny it, the WWE is awesome. Right. And that's going to slowly start to show too.
Right.
So also from this issue, we mentioned last week that The Miz cashed in his briefcase at the end of the Raw Chamber match. Dave said the obvious thing here would be to crown Drew in front of 20 to 30,000 people at WrestleMania because there was no audience last year. We shall see. We'll be covering that. But putting the belt on a guy like The Miz, who won 4 matches since the start of 2020, wouldn't be anywhere near a crowning moment.
So regarding the length of the chamber match, and we touched on this last week, so there were timing issues, and no kidding. For example, Corbin was supposed to tap out to Cesaro before Kevin Owens came in, and that interval was 7 minutes and 36 seconds, not 5 minutes. And the last person in the SmackDown match was at 23 minutes and 10 seconds, not 20. And Raw actually cut their intervals to 4 minutes, so their last man was in at 16 minutes, and this felt way longer real-time watching. And we talked about that last week again. Like, if you want to see our review of the entire match, you can check out last week's episode, but you'll see why we're so exhausted by that. My word, that was a long match.
Yeah, and like you said, man, 23 minutes to get everybody in without a fall. That was the other thing. It just really, really made it seem like it went on forever.
Yeah.
So my last little nugget here is CFO Christina Salen said in a Wall Street Journal interview that SmackDown ratings increased by 8% since moving to the Thunderdome. But Dave comes in and notes that she was missing that the Thunderdome and Roman's return and being a focal point of the show were simultaneous. And he deserves just as much credit as the move to the venue.
I agree. I know a lot of people hold the Thunderdome, like they really like playing with it in the video games like 2K24. I know they really wanted the Thunderdome in 2K25. Like I don't see the appeal. I would rather see a full venue of humans, but I totally get it. Like it was a time capsule. It was great for the time.
I'm done. Like we've seen enough. It was neat at first, but now that we've seen 5 months or whatever of it, I'm ready for crowds now.
We have only 3 more months left here on the Bloodline Rewind. We have 3 more months of the Thunderdome, and then we go back into the full houses. So we'll get there. Just hang with us here. So, and finally, regarding Peacock, because we had talked about Peacock the last time we went to Dirt Sheet Beach. So the plan for Fastlane, we got 2 more shows. We'll be covering Fastlane in 2 more weeks here. That is on March 21st. It is going to be on both Peacock and the WWE Network. The original plan was for the WWE Network to be switched over to Peacock on March 18th. The complete switch was scheduled for prior to WrestleMania for the US, where Peacock will be the only place you'll be able to watch the show. Speaking of Fastlane, we're 3 weeks away in our timeline. So, Goose, get us on track here. What is up with the Fallout SmackDown of the Elimination Chamber?
We are at the February 26th, 2021 episode of SmackDown, and Michael Cole starts us off. We are well on our way to the road to WrestleMania. So this show starts with Roman's music hitting, and Michael Cole says, we begin tonight with the man who is still the head of the table, still the Universal Champion. And then Graves chimes in,
still the sun in the sky.
WWE Universe.
So Roman comes out again, Jey to his right, Paul to his left, raises that title above his head, and we get some big time pyro. And the strange thing here, Michael Cole says people are describing Roman as aloof.
Many have called Roman Reigns aloof.
And I want to know who they are because literally no one has said that to my knowledge on camera.
There's a lot of different adjectives you can use to describe Roman Reigns and aloof, whatever.
So after putting over how dominant he is, Cole says that Reigns' defense was unique, and we cut to the highlight package from the chamber match.
And the package shows Kevin Owens eliminating Sammy, Jey squishing KO's arm and eliminating him, Jey eliminating Cesaro, and then Daniel Bryan getting the knees up on the Uso splash, hitting the Psycho knee, and then winning the chamber, only to immediately have Roman's music hit and Roman go over.
And with all of the music, the editing, and the effects, I think the recap of the Roman match was longer than the match itself.
I co-sign, dude. I believe that.
And this is what I thought was interesting about this video package. There was a big time focus on Owens and Jey. And the first thing I thought was you just have to wonder if they're going to have a Mania match. As much as Jey has screwed him over, Jey time and time again has screwed him over. It was originally the cage. Now it's here. He's screwed him at every turn.
It would make a lot of sense, especially now that we have this, Daniel Bryan wrinkle that we'll get into. I like it. The package finishes with Edge's spear. He's pointing to the sign, and the decision is finally made.
So back in the ring, Roman puts the belt over his shoulder, and Paul hands him the microphone. And I just adore the way that Paul just handles the microphone. I love how he handles the title. It is just so great.
It's like a precious object, all of it.
And Roman starts,
I don't think it's a secret.
SmackDown needs me. The same thing can be said about the Elimination Chamber.
It needed me.
So what did I do?
I answered the call.
Roman says that he does what the tribal chief does and saves this place over and over again. He defended his Universal Championship, and in the back, Paul goes,
voluntarily.
And what did he do?
I smashed Daniel Bryan.
He said it was the most exciting whooping of the year, maybe of the decade. You put anyone else in that role and they'd have been boasting and bragging.
But not me. Nah.
And he's not happy because his night was not perfect. And it wasn't perfect because of one man.
Edge.
And I really think that Roman's intensity making these promos is making them better and better. He is getting so good on the mic here now.
I can't believe that he doesn't crack when Paul jumps in with those lines.
Seriously.
Because they're great. They are great and they make me laugh. And I mean, he's a pro, dude, because I wouldn't be able to do it.
No.
Voluntarily.
You got one, Edge. You speared me.
And then he pointed at the sign and made it official. Roman Reigns versus Edge, the main event of WrestleMania.
And Roman continues.
I'm telling you right now, you don't want it.
You don't need that in your life, Edge. So I'm going to give you another opportunity.
Back out. Beat it, scram, get out.
And he says that Edge has a beautiful family. He's a father and a husband.
I don't want to hurt you.
He likes what Edge stands for. He appreciates him and his story, but he doesn't want to hurt him. So understand this. This is why a man like you just doesn't stand a chance
against a man like me.
There is one of the most impeccably timed interruptions you've ever seen. Daniel Bryan's music hits as soon as he is done with that sentence. The screens are doing the yes chant, and Daniel Bryan has the stick.
Nearly perfect.
You describe your Universal title defense at Elimination Chamber as nearly perfect.
Yeah, and Bryan says that he had to come out and say, from his perspective, he has to agree. Roman deserves to be celebrating for putting his title up against a man that just went
Against somebody who'd already gone all the way through an elimination.
But Bryan's heard some rumblings about people that think differently, that Roman coming out to defend his Universal Championship was
cowardly.
Roman is very dismissive, and Daniel Bryan is reminding him that Bryan started the chamber, lasted through 5 other men, and then had to receive his shot, and that a man who needs to defend against someone like that isn't a real champion at all.
And Daniel Bryan says he isn't out here to complain. He's just addressing rumors. But what he is baffled by is the head of the table would defend his title in, and this was very clever.
In the second match.
He would have thought the head of the table would be more
A main event spot?
Or would that have given Bryan too much time? And we talked about it before, and this is a very, very, very sneaky way to jab at insecurities that Roman may have. Acknowledge me. I'm the man. I'm the main event. I'm the face that runs the place. And Bryan says, then why are you going on second?
Yep.
I like that.
I love it too. It's his Achilles heel, and it is once that switch flips, it's fully flipped, and that's when he's his most vulnerable. So DB continues by saying he was in the ring with Roman in his first match in WWE, and he knows what he's done and what he's capable of.
Here's a chance to make it all right, to prove the doubters.
So there's no comparisons between Roman and Daniel Bryan because there's been a lot of comparisons. You want to end it all? How about this?
Your Universal Championship.
One more time. No qualifiers, nothing in the way.
Championship at Fastlane.
And Jey steps in, he grabs the mic and says,
What you doing out here, DB?
Jey says that he's just hearing excuses. Bryan lost. You get to the back of the line. You can go through the right-hand man, and be careful.
I'm going to get you like I get them all.
And he popped me because he lost to Bryan in the chamber, and now he's trolling Bryan for losing.
Good heel, dude. That's what you do.
So Jey then steps aside. Roman grabs the mic. He looks right at DB and says,
After what I did to you.
Jey then hits Bryan with the ambush, takes Bryan outside, and he throws him over the barricade, and Jey is just preening. He's smiling and clapping, and Paul and Roman exit the ring, and Roman is all smiles as he daps up Jey, and Paul gives Jey a pound. And the other thing that I love too, he just kept saying that it was a magic trick. He just made him disappear. I thought it was great.
Disappear. Magic trick, man.
So after this segment, we get a match rundown, and Pierce and DeVille are talking backstage about Bianca's decision. Edge walks in and says, I'm sure you've heard the same thing, that Daniel Bryan's possibly getting a title match.
He was in the same Rumble that I won.
We got to talk.
We cut to commercial. We come back, and Paul, Jey, and Roman are all backstage. Jey says, my bad, brother, as Roman hands the belt to Paul. Jey says,
No, I jumped the gun on this one. But DB got there disrespecting
us. My apologies. And Roman responds that there's nothing to apologize for.
as long as you get the job done. Hey.
So a little more sprinkling here of some tea leaves here. So just keep on the watch for that one.
We cut back to Edge talking with Pierce and Sonya, and he's saying that he gets here and he hears that Daniel Bryan possibly has a title match at Fastlane, but he's also hearing that there's supposed to be a tag match at Fastlane with Edge and Daniel Bryan against Roman and Jey. So what's going on?
Pierce said about a tag match that was tentative.
This thing literally fell in their laps, this match.
And Pierce, still in full Bruce Wayne mode, said that if Daniel Bryan beats Jey tonight, then Roman puts the title on the line at Fastlane, and no disrespect, but a Universal Championship match.
It's a bigger attraction. That's it.
And so Edge is frustrated. He walks off, and Cole reiterates the statement that Daniel Bryan will face Jey tonight. If he wins, he gets Roman at Fastlane in 3 weeks. And Graves reiterates that if Daniel Bryan wins the match, he cuts the line in front of Edge, who has to wait until WrestleMania. So after Gable and Otis beat Dom and Ray, we get the graphic, and it's TV official, Daniel Bryan versus Jey. And if Daniel Bryan wins, he gets the title shot at the next pay-per-view.
Paulo comes out and cuts his first heel promo as Nigerian royalty. He then beats Shinsuke. So it looks like that push has been brought to a screeching halt.
See you, Shinsuke.
So after that match, Roman is backstage in the chair. Paul comes up behind him and says, I just saw Adam Pearce. He made it official. If Daniel Bryan wins tonight, he
Universal Championship match at Fastlane.
Roman says, so the tag match is scrapped. And Paul responds, if Daniel Bryan wins tonight. And Roman is looking very unnerved as they cut to commercial.
So next up, we have Tamina demolishing Liv Morgan. Bianca comes out, chooses Sasha for a match at WrestleMania. And after that segment, we get another plug for the main event tonight. After the Street Profits beat Corbin and Sammy, after Sammy's documentarian crew got in Corbin's way, we cut to the back and we have Kayla welcoming Daniel Bryan. She says tonight he has the chance to earn a Universal Championship match and even play spoiler for WrestleMania. What does he think?
Bryan says that
a long ways away. I still have to beat Jey Uso tonight.
He thinks that his chances of beating Roman are better than Edge's chances of beating Roman, and he has an infinite amount of respect for Edge. But to be fair,
but I don't know if he has what it takes to beat Roman.
Yeah, Edge then walks in, another well-timed segment here, and says, oh.
So you don't think I can beat Roman?
You think if you beat Jey tonight, you can easily beat Roman? To which Bryan says,
I didn't say easily.
And then Edge says, in all seriousness, if it were to happen, I'd face you at WrestleMania.
Who wins that match?
And Bryan says he'll keep the answer to himself, but he's got to go through Jey tonight first.
Seth comes out for a promo. Cesaro comes out and ends that. And then he gets Seth in the swing and he swings him for about a minute and a half. Seth walks into an uppercut. Cesaro's music hits and he walks out standing tall as Daniel Bryan's music hits. Cesaro dabs up DB and Bryan makes his way to the ring for the main event.
Jey then makes his entrance. The bell rings. Jey starts out in control until Bryan cuts him off with a hip toss. Bryan's working over Jey's arm, runs over Jey with an elbow and then a running drop kick to the corner. Bryan hits a few kicks, walks Jey to the other corner, sets him up, and hits a Hurricane Rana from the top rope. So some big spots here early.
Yes, and he goes back to Jey's arm as Jey powders. Bryan goes for a tope, and Jey cuts him off with a super kick. Jey then slams DB into the announce table knee first and then picks him up and drives DB's knee into the post. And Bryan is writhing in pain as we cut to commercial. Jey cheated here, but he outsmarted Bryan, which was really interesting. He baited him to do the tope and he made him pay for it and targeted his bad knee. Like, this isn't the kind of stuff that we're seeing from Jey consistently.
Right. A little bit more cerebral here. I like it. Mm-hmm. So we come back and Jey's working over Bryan's knee. Bryan sees an opening, goes for the yes lock, but Jey goes full Charlie Murphy and just starts punching Bryan's legs. Bryan fires up and then Jey cuts him off with a Samoan drop and gets a 2 count.
Jey goes to the top, misses an Uso splash as Bryan rolls out. DB gets up and starts nailing Jey with yes kicks. He throws Jey into the ropes, telegraphs a backdoor body drop, but Jey hits him with a right hand. Jey gets tossed out, and Bryan runs the ropes again, and this time hitting the sliding drop kick through the ropes, and then nails Jey with the knee from the apron to the floor.
Bryan then throws Jey into the ring, climbs up to the top, but Jey ducks out as Bryan sells the knee again. Jey's now attacking that knee again and rolls Bryan into a half crab. So Bryan rolls out, tries to kick Jey off, but Jey's able to fight through and get the crab again. Bryan fights off again, and this time he breaks the hold. He nails Jey with a kick to the side of the head and gets a 2 count.
Jey is selling in one corner as Bryan starts the yes chance. Bryan goes for the knee, but Jey cuts him off with a chop block to the thigh. And Jey hits a super kick and gets a 2 count. And that chop block looked stiff. Like, they legitimately ran into each other.
They did. And again, man, Jey is wrestling a much more cerebral and under control match. Very interesting.
Yes,
because he's been known to go off the handle and cost himself everything. And
right.
We're not getting that, man. He's staying consistent on the body part. Nice little psychology here.
Jey climbs up to the top, but Bryan is able to get up and knock Jey down. He grabs a double underhook and he hits a butterfly suplex. He's working for the yes lock, but Jey gets to the ropes and rolls to the outside, which keep thinking about this little sequence right here because this will play a part later on.
So Bryan follows him out, goes for an Irish whip, but Jey reverses and throws Bryan into the steps. The officials at 8, at 9, and I'm thinking, no, no. Jey throws Bryan knee first into the steps. The ref counts 10, and we have a double count out.
I was so mad when they counted him out. I was irritated. I just want finishes. So to roll back in, Bryan gets Jey into a yes lock, but it's for nothing. And as that's happening, Roman runs in, attacks Bryan, but Bryan is able to fight through and get Roman into the yes lock. And the hold is on, but Jey super kicks Bryan to break it. And Roman gets up. He nails Bryan with a spear. Roman then locks in a guillotine, and he is trash talking Bryan as DB goes out. The show closes with Roman continuing to trash talk Bryan as he holds the belt high above his head. And I have to say that I loved this angle, but I was just waiting the whole time for Edge to come, and it never happened.
Yeah, and you know what, dude? You do need a big time angle like this after a count out finish, because even with no fans, it's a tough one to stomach.
Yeah.
You know, it really would have felt flat. And we're setting up something for next week, so the finish makes sense. But in the moment, like you said, man, it's always better to get finishes.
Yep.
So that was the fallout from Elimination Chamber, man. Who do you got on your island of relevancy this week?
So for the island of relevancy this week, I'm going to put Jey on it because we're seeing a complete 180 style of wrestling from Jey Uso in this match in particular. I don't know if what changed, but something has changed because he is like a reckless wild dog that in these matches. He goes and does things that don't make any sense, but everything that he did, he was, like you mentioned, Goose, he was much more cerebral. There was actual thought put into what he was doing, and it made a lot of sense. I thought this was great.
Evolution of character, man. That's all we ever ask for.
It's true.
And we're getting it here, you know? I mean, so it's simple as that. It could be, hopefully, anyways.
So that is what I have on my island of relevancy this week. Goose, who are you tossing into the ocean of obscurity?
This one was a layup, man, and it's the double count out in the main event.
Yeah.
Even though it's setting up Daniel Bryan and Jey for a cage next week, it's just a really anticlimactic way to set up a new challenger for Roman. Again, I understand we shoehorn another pay-per-view in here for the Peacock launch. We got to get something to build it up, but it doesn't mean that I wasn't just once that referee got to 9. So yeah, I'm throwing the double count out.
All right, so that was part 20 of the Bloodline Rewind. We will be back next week. We are jam-packed. We are going to go all 3 SmackDowns leading up to WWE Fastlane 2021. And don't forget about the finish to this match because it directly plays into our first SmackDown that we have next week. So there's a little teaser for you to come back next week. And so make sure, if you are new to the channel, subscribe and go back and watch all of the episodes. We are chronologically going through the Bloodline story, and we start from the beginning and we're going the whole way to the end. So make sure you subscribe and support the channel. And with that, I'm Johnny Bake Show.
I'm Teddy Mongoose.
And we just called it in the ring.